Let's take a look at today's front pages. Claire, can we start with you? Because I think...
No.
Oh, what do we do now? Oh, we do that. I'm sorry. Well, there you are. You see, I'm the new girl here. It's a good job I've got you here, Poppet.
It is a good job.
Good job.
The Express, first of all.
Right, let's start with the Express, which says that the Queen faces a new anguish. Scotland Yard is going to investigate an alleged offer of a knighthood in exchange for donations to Prince Charles's charity.
We move to the Mail. It says it's a bombshell for the royal family. Comes less than 24 hours after what it calls the abject humiliation of Prince Andrew.
Foreign Secretary Liz Truss is warning that Russia is ready to test the mettle of the West by dragging out the Ukraine crisis for months. She says we must not be dragged into a false sense of security over Putin's claims of troop withdrawals.
Here's the Independent. According to them, this morning, NATO is planning to deploy extra combat units to Central and Southeastern Europe to shore up the alliance.
Following moves by Scotland and Wales, England is to join the other nations in opening up the vaccine programme for children aged 5 to 11.
And we're going to be talking about that later in the programme today. But now going through the papers, we have got political editor for The Sun on Sunday, David Wooding, and broadcaster and journalist. We're very delighted to welcome Clare Muldoon.
And Claire, we're going to start with you, I think, with a story in the Times.
Times, front page of the Times. Angela, cash for honours inquiry deepens crisis for royals. On the backdrop of the money that's been paid to Geoffrey in America for Prince Andrew, we've now got Prince Charles, the succession to the throne, as we know, willing to assist police in another scandal, and the scandal, of course, being Michael Fawcett, Charles's former valet, who quit as chief executive of the Prince's Trust last year, Prince's Foundation, and this whole claim centres on the fact of a Saudi billionaire and his quest to receive a CBE honour, and apparently he paid £1.5 million for this honour. But we have to ask, this is a tip of the iceberg. This is the elite. This is going on. It's been going on. Remember, Jonathan Aitken cast the questions. He was jailed for it. Don't let the buggers get you down. Am I surprised at this? No. Am I saddened? Yes, for the Queen. And I think perhaps as a country, it deeply saddens me to say, but maybe we have to move on once the Queen has passed her crown on to, do we actually need a monarchy in this country in terms of funding, in terms of everything else? That's the question I think we have to be asking.
We have to say, of course, that Prince Charles is saying that he was not aware of this, and it was Fawcett who was actually running the charity.
He was the agent for it, yes.
And you say the Queen doesn't need it. I don't know if you've seen the front page of The Sun today, and there are photographs of the Queen in lots of them. It's the first time I've seen the Queen looking really old, and I really feel sorry for her.
I do
too. Stuff that's going on at the moment.
I do too.
I mean, it's a lovely picture of her, but, she looks like everybody's granny now.
And she admitted that she's feeling frail in herself.
Yeah.
We'll just show it there because we didn't pick it up.
You didn't pick it up. Yeah, there it is. There she is.
Yeah.
First time I've seen her looking really, really quite troubled, actually.
Yes, it's a great shame for the Queen, because in the last 24 hours we've had the Prince Andrew having to pay £12 million, and there's still questions about how much Her Majesty is paying towards that in this
do you know what? When that started, I thought, well, obviously he's paying it himself, or his mother's paying it, or whatever. And then, as yesterday went on, the question started to rise, would this be out of the public purse? And then that began to irk me a bit.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, are we any clearer on that?
He has sold, or he is selling his chalet in Switzerland, I think.
But there's still a mortgage on that.
£18 million that's worth. But he hasn't sold it yet. So where's the money coming from? It's a good question, Eamon, because if they're dipping into the public purse for this, then we have a right
They
to
can't.
know.
They can't. No, I mean, she's got an income from the Duchy of Lancaster, isn't it? She made £23 million last year, and we don't know that it is actually £12 million, do we? It might be less than that, but whatever it is, I think if there's a...
It's about $12 million, £10 million.
Whatever. Yeah.
But there's questions regarding, as David quite rightly said, is it coming from the public purse? And if it is, I'll be really, really, really angry.
Well, we'd want to know.
At least we'd want to know.
We'd want to know.
Yeah.
David, let's talk about Ukraine now. Western Union pressure on Putin with more troops. This is the Independent's take front page.
Yes, it's not 24 hours. It was yesterday, early hours yesterday morning. We were told that the Russians were likely to invade, and of course, here we are Thursday morning, and it hasn't happened yet. But the NATO General Secretary, Jens Stoltenberg, is saying we're taking no chances, we're preparing for the worst. And that's been seen in more troops tanks, armoured vehicles. The Royal Navy's £1 billion warship destroyer HMS Diamond is going into the Black Sea.
Yeah.
There'll be Apache gunship helicopters going.
Yeah.
So it will crank up the pressure on Putin.
But I think it was interesting, that Liz Truss line, that they're going to be there for the long term. This is not just going to be over this week or in a couple of weeks or whatever. I mean, they could just set up camp around that Ukrainian border for the rest of the year.
Well, exactly. It's weeks or months that the Russians have got the capability to keep their troops there.
They've been there since last summer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Putin, I keep saying this, is playing cat and mouse. The UK diplomats have been asked to remove themselves, return from the Ukraine. They're doing that, I think, to clear the space in the Ukraine so they can have a good view of what's going on, and also to show Putin that they're actually taking him seriously, because it's all about puffing his chest, rolling down his pride and making him feel good.
And making him look good at home.
And making him look good at home. That's it.
He's playing Russian roulette, really, isn't
Well,
he? His
yes.
form of it, anyway. David, what have you got from The Guardian for us?
Oh, The Guardian. Well, yes, this is a story about green issues. The oil firms, believe it or not, spend a lot of money on still in fossil fuels. They're supposed to be rethinking their business model and becoming more green. And according to this report that's out in The Guardian, that Shell, BP, ExxonMobil, Chevron, they're 10% of the fossil fuel industry. They're using words in their reports like climate and low carbon and these sort of words, but they're not actually doing very much about it. So effectively, it's words but no real action on climate change from these companies. They mention these green words such as climate change and low carbon and so forth 326 times in their material.
Yes.
It was only 22 last year.
But it's all talk.
All talk.
So what are we paying for? What are we paying these extra green taxes for?
Well, that's the big.
What are we getting? What are we getting for that?
Well, at the what we're getting for it is low carbon emissions from this country, but that is just a tiny fraction of the world.
Listen, I'm sure around this table we all want to save the planet. We all want to do the right thing. But Claire, I'm just getting the feeling now's not the time. We can put it
to rest for a while, surely.
A year.
We don't need to save the planet. We need to actually save people and save the economy and save education and save society. That's what we ought to be focusing on, and not, the empowered, the BPs, the Shells who don't pay tax in the UK, and yet our energy prices are soaring. We need to look to alternative methods you mentioned fracking a few weeks ago, and there's a coal mine actually in Cumbria that could actually resurrect coal at the moment from the coal face, and we could use that. Yes, I know it's a dirty fuel. Yes, I know it's a fossil fuel, but in the interim, when against everything else, could we not look to that? And also,
here's what I say about fracking. You could wipe out the debt that COVID cost with this. You could take care of the whole social care issue and problem that we can't fund. You could pay off whatever the NHS owes.
Do you know why?
Is it not a no-brainer?
Well, the reason why they're not doing it, and they're actually going to fill in a quarry or whatever it is in Blackpool, actually, for the fracking site, there is this risk of seismic tremors, seismic shift of the tectonic plates. It's never been proved.
It's never been
It's
proved.
never been proved.
Actually, come on. We're all grown up. We've all done geography at school and geology and various things as well. Are you really telling me that an explosion underground can cause the tectonic plates to move? I just don't believe it. It just doesn't stack up with me.
Well, I think by you saying that, it's going to let off a tectonic plate in Twitter, and you'll have people going off at GBNews because you've said that.
Yeah, look, I can think.
So polarising is fracking.
Yes, but are you going to say it's going to open up something the size of the Grand Canyon, a bit of an explosion underground?
I'm not saying anything, Eamon.
That's what I'm saying. It just doesn't. I agree with that. Just doesn't stack up to me.
It's fear of the unknown in this country. That's what it is. And
the US have used it for years, haven't they, David?
Well, yes, they've done it. It's just...
And their fuel prices are 6 times less than ours.
And Eamon's right. We all want to save the planet, but actually compared with the sort of output that China has got with the 20 coal-fired power stations that it's building every year, it's minuscule.
Do you know what all these stories have in common? COP26, and nothing has been spoken about that since.
Well, I don't think they're going to backtrack on COP26 as well, but
no.
I do think, Claire, something that gets really on my goat is plastic, single-use plastic. And if governments, David, were really serious about this, they would say, right, single-use plastic, we're going to give you 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and then it ain't going to exist, companies, and that's it. But nobody ever does. Nobody ever does. All talk, no action. Let's go to the Financial Times front page. No, it's not the Financial Times, David. I'm looking for you.
Claire.
It's Claire. No, David hasn't spoken. No. She's spoken far too much. We've had enough of her.
Visas.
David, what have you got for us
Visas.
next?
We can talk about visas if you want.
Right.
Yeah, there's the UK is this is in the on the BBC website, strangely enough. But I've read it in a couple of papers in the Daily Mail and a couple of others that Britain is to scrap these golden visa schemes. They're called investor visas, where people can come invest in this country and then they get fast-tracked into British citizenship. Instead of it being they can get it down to 5 years or 2 years, depending on how many millions they invest. They have, in fact, been called dirty money visas. And, hey, it's linked to Russia again. All the Russian oligarchs coming in here, investing money and getting British citizenship. And, of course, people are looking at this a little bit more closely.
Look, can I just say, we're not the only people to do this. No. This happens in Portugal. You buy yourself a big villa in Portugal, whatever, and you open up a bank account there, you will get citizenship. I think it happens in Spain and it happens in Greece as well. So it's not just unique to us.
No. But what's different is that we are now going to crack down on that. So they're going to make it a bit more difficult, it seems, according to noises coming out of the Home Office.
Will they miss all that money when it's gone?
Probably, yes. We need investment in jobs and services in this country, but there is more caution about China and Russia these days. There are a lot of backbench MPs and members of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee saying, look, we've got to be a bit more careful about where the money's coming from and who's behind it.
Eamon, as you're taking charge of the programme, is it all right if I now ask Claire if she can do her newspaper?
Just give your choice which one you'd like. Which one you'd like. There's so many there, so many to choose.
Well, can we just put a poll out? There's one about Nicola Sturgeon. Which one do you think I'm going to take?
Nicola Sturgeon.
Yes,
go on with your accent. Come on.
Absolutely. So Tom Harris, who used to be an MP, a Labour MP in Glasgow South, has a piece in the Mail today. Sturgeon shamelessly exploited COVID in her war for independence. Oh, the irony, says he. After her militant curbs, the Scots fared worse than us. And indeed, that is a story, that's a letter, that's a sentence. The Scots will fare worse than England from her if they do get independence.
Can I just ask you a question? When it is claimed she shamelessly exploited COVID in the war for independence, how does that add up? Because
she came out when Boris last July said we're going to have Freedom Day. We're going to take, move out of stage 2 restrictions. She was saying, well, it's a bit too early for that then, isn't it? We can't do that. What's he doing that for? Well, the Prime Minister, your boss, is doing that because it's the right thing to do. She's kept my family, my friends still in Scotland, still under terrible duress. She's made them wear masks. The other week she wanted to saw off 2 inches off doors, indoors of schools because of this, against the advice from the Scottish Fire Brigade to say that actually those doors were there for safety measures in case fires went off in the classroom.
Has she not saved the NHS in Scotland as a result?
No, she's not saved the NHS in Scotland as a result because the death toll in Scotland is actually higher per capita than here.
OK. We'll leave it there. Thank you, Claire. Thank you very much. Points well made. David, thank you indeed.
You will.
Yes, we will.
18 minutes now.